Hey guys, today we're going to be learning about how to find the unit rate on a graph. Now, before we can actually jump into the unit rate, we need to review a little bit about how to use a coordinate plane. So let's do a quick review on using a graph. So the first thing we're going to want to remember is the x and the y axis. So remember, this one is the x-axis, and this one up here is the y-axis. Now we talk about points on a graph by using something called ordered pairs. And the ordered pairs go in this order, x, y. So the first number in the pair is going to be counted on the x-axis. And then the second number you're going to count on the y-axis. So let's do an example of how to plot a point. So say that you're asked to plot the point 2, 4. This one is going to be the x. This one is going to be the y. So on your coordinate plane, remember x is in this direction, you would need to go 2 places this way. So over 2. And then you would need to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 from that spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 4. And so your dot, your final point, would be right here, over 2 and up 4. Okay, let's do another example. Say you were asked to name a point that you see on a graph. So name the point, and you were given this graph. You've got 1, 2, 3 here, and say your dot was right here. And so we're looking at a dot that lines up with this spot and this spot, and your points are labeled, your tick marks are labeled just in ones, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you would make your parentheses and your comma, and your x goes here. So on the x-axis, you're going to count over 1, 2, 3. And then your y goes here. So on the y-axis, you would count up 1, 2. So this point would be 3, 2 to coordinate with the x and the y. All right. So another thing that we need to keep in mind when we're using graphs to find the unit rate is determining the scale of the graph. So oftentimes you'll see a graph that looks something like this, and maybe it has 5 tick marks, and it only has the last one labeled. The axis is always 0. It only has the last one labeled, and you don't really know what the increments are that are being used. To find it out, you want to divide the number that you're given, so this last number, by the number of tick marks. So for this guy, you would say 75 divided by, and let's count, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces that it's being divided over. So 75 divided by 5 is 15. So that means these units are in 15. So 15, 30, 45, 60. We're adding 15 each time, and that should get us up to 75. For this one, we would say 15 divided by And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tick marks equals 3. So we're in units of 3 here. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So that will help you in determining the scale if it's not labeled clearly. So now that we have our little review done, we're going to actually look at finding the unit rate. On a graph. So let's start with an example. So say I have this graph here, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tick marks and a 50. And on this one, the same scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tick marks and a 50. So first thing I want to do is establish my scale. So I would think, okay, 50 divided by 5 is 10. So these are in tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So now I have my scale. And say that my graph looks like this. It's a straight line. But I know that there's a point here that like lines up really well with my graph. So this point is here. The rest of the dots may not line up perfectly with some of these, but I can see this point for sure lines up with my grid. So I'm going to name that point. So if I look, the x value is 20 and the y value is 40. So this is what I'm going to use to find my unit rate. So the first step is going to be to divide y by x. So in our example, this is x and this is y, right? So 40 divided by 20 gives me 2. Okay, so the unit rate, remember we talked about unit rate, we said it had a denominator of 1. The x is always going to be the 1, that's the denominator, and the y is going to be where you put your answer. So the unit rate as an ordered pair would be 1, 2. So for every 1x, there are 2 y's. Okay, another way to think about that unit rate would be to kind of make a table. Here's x and y. Start with your unit rate for every one. There are 2 y's. And then think about some other values that you could see on your graph. Let's do like 5, 10, 15, 20. So I'm multiplying by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 15 times 2 is 30. 20 times 2 is 40. So we're keeping that same relationship. And then we can check on the graph, does it make sense? So 5, 10 would be around here, right? Halfway between 5 on the x-axis and 10 here, that falls on our line. 10, 20, 10 here, 20 on the y-axis, that falls on our line. 15 would be halfway in between 30, that falls. And then 20, 40 was our original point. So you can see when we have a unit rate, it makes a linear pattern. Linear meaning it makes a line. Okay, pattern is linear. It always starts at 0, 0, and it makes a line. It keeps going up by the same increment. All right, let's try another example. So now we're going to actually use the graph to tell us some real information instead of just numbers. So how much does Joe make per hour? Okay, so you're given this graph and 5 tick marks again. And we're told this is 10 and this is 150, and we're given a label. So this x-axis is hours and the y-axis is money earned. And our line looks something like this. And the examples you're given in your homework will have a grid, so it makes it easier. But while we're doing this, sketching it on paper, I'm just going to draw these little dash marks to show us where these line up. Okay, so your line looks something like this. And we want to know how much Joe makes in 1 hour. So remember, the first thing we want to do is figure out our scale. So if this is 10 and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tick marks, 10 divided by 5 is 2. So I know I'm going by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. This one is 150, also 5 tick marks. 150 divided by 5 is 30. So we're going in increments of 30 here. 30, 60, 90, 120. So now we've done half the battle. We've figured out what these are. Let's figure out what the ordered pair would be for that point. So on the x-axis, it's at the 6. On the y-axis, it's at the 90. So here's our ordered pair. Remember, our first step is to divide y by x. So our y is 90. We're dividing that by 6. And that gives us 15. So our unit rate as an ordered pair, remember, is going to have 1 in the x spot and our answer in the y spot. Okay, we'll get a denominator of 1 and then our answer here. So he makes $15 per hour. Okay, let's try one on your own. So what does Dora earn each day while pet sitting? Okay, so you're given an empty graph in this situation, but it's labeled. It's telling you you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And these are days. Okay, and then over here, we have amount earned. And these are labeled 7, 14, 21, 28, like that. Okay, and in this situation, you're given a table. So it has number of days on this side and amount earned on this side. And we're given some values, some ordered pairs, 0, 0, 1, 7, 2, 14, 3, 21. And so we want to know what she makes each day. Before we even do anything with the graph, I can see it. Number of days, 1 day, amount earned is 7. That's our unit rate, right? But the problem is also asking us to plot the ordered pairs. And it's asking us to describe the pattern. Okay, so if we want to plot these, 0, 0 is right at the origin here. 1, 7, we would do 1 day for $7. That's our unit rate, right? 214, 214 there, and 321, 321 there. So we've plotted our points. We did that part. Describe the pattern. And remember, how did we describe the pattern for the graph of a unit rate? It's linear. Okay, so the pattern is linear, and she makes $7 per day pet sitting. Okay, so our practice is just going to give us some experience working with these graphs, finding the unit rate. Not all graphs show the unit rate like this one did. Some of them don't have the increment of 1 very clearly visible, so we have to pick another point and divide our ordered pair in order to find the unit rate. So this will give us some practice with this, and I can help you along as we go. All right, I will help you and see you soon.